This is not a Marvel story or fantasy. This is a true story from an ancient legend that has become reality. By watching this video, you will pay more attention to everything, and your view on everything will change, especially yourself. And the question at the end of the video may be the biggest question in history, and the answer lies with you. Be sure to have a shot.
OBSCURA.
Is it possibly for a 2-year-old child with no experience of World War II to speak like a decent pilot from the war? Could this be a coincidence? Or is there something more to this? Today in the remarkable story from James Leininger, we explore of the most intriguing tales of reincarnation. In 1998, James was only 2 years old when his night terrors began. But this wasn't ordinary nightmare. We're talking about plane crash, about begging in war, and about horrific engineers. But how could an innocence child know such details? At first, James' parents thought these were just childhood nightmares. But when James began to mention specific details, like a name Natuna Bay, an aircraft carrier now only to World War II pilots, they couldn't ignore it any longer.
Happy, playful toddler, the centerpiece of a loving family of 3 living on the soft coastal plain of southern Louisiana. And then suddenly, in the darkest hour of midnight, he was flopping around on his bed like a broken power line, howling at the sky as if he could crack open the heavens with his ear-shattering distress. I was always looking for a logical explanation for James's nightmares and his knowledge of aviation. And many people have asked us, do we have an aviation or military background? And we don't. And that's what made James's recollections so much more.
Dr. Jim Traeger took charge of James' cases and began researching the child. From talking to James, to observing and interviewing the parents. Dr. Traeger was a renowned physician and researching in the field of reincarnation and psychology, who worked at Virginia. He was responsible for investigation cases related to reincarnation. James began describing in great detail how, in his past life, he was fighter pilot stationed on the Natuna Bay aircraft carrier. Involved in combat mission, even describing how he died. in the sky, shot down by a Japanese plane. One day, James' parents researched out the surviving World War II pilots. They meet with one of the crew members who remembered the pilot James described it and confirmed the detail.
Well, yes, there were. One was in the process of searching for the families that both Andrea and I undertook, but primarily Andrea. When we found the families, the issue of uncovering an old wound for the families took us quite by surprise. And then the relationships that we established with the veterans, hundreds of veterans, going to reunions, gave us this whole other world.
We were contacted through, I don't remember exactly how it evolved, but I think the source of it first came from Carol Bowman, who had published a book, and then we were contacted, and it wasn't Sherry that...
The story sprang through the media, capturing the public imagination. James' tale was only astonishing, but raised the question: does reincarnation really exist?
James in his nightmares described crashing into water, and in the research that we did for the story, these are the aircraft action reports from BC-81, about 400 pages of action report.
After my husband and I did extensive research based on what James had told us, we were able to determine that James was remembering the life of a fighter pilot who'd been killed during World War II at the Battle for Iwo Jima. His name was James M. Houston Jr. And when his family sent us the initial package of photographs, we were amazed by the striking resemblance between James M. Houston Jr., the fighter pilot who was shot down in World War II, and our own son, James.
I was not just skeptical, I was adamant that this was not happening in my house. And my belief system rebelled against the concept and the idea of reincarnation and past lives.
It was important for me to write this book with my husband. Number one, to tell James's story. I actually think that what James experienced is not an uncommon phenomenon. I think probably a lot of children remember past lives when they're in the 2 to 5-year-old age bracket.
What we did was we listened, and we followed the things that our son gave us. It became an adventure. It became an adventure, a discovery that went thousands of miles, talking to hundreds of people, and establishing facts beyond any reasonable doubt of proof that this is not a coincidence. This is indeed the past life experience of a child, remembering the spirit and having the spirit of another person join this reality.
James Leininger's story remained one of the most compelling pieces of evidence for reincarnation. Because with that past lives and death are part of longer cycle we don't fully understand. Does reincarnation really exist? And if you could choose your next life, what body would you like to live in?